Hello everyone, it's Cassie. Welcome back for another video here on my YouTube channel. Today we are going to be taking a look at 3 of the June 2023 Spellbinders kits, and we'll talk about them as we go, but these are the cards we're going to be making. This first kit I'm going to show you is the Glimmer Kit, and it comes with those 3 pieces that will glimmer. You've got 2 sets of waves and a sentiment, and then you also have 4 dies that are going to cut out those waves. And I'm showing you here how that kind of works. What I end up making, wow, these waves are just cool. I'll just say that. And I believe the versatility would be super great. You're also going to get the Sky Bright foil that comes along with this June kit as well, and it is beautiful. So I'm going to cut this down because we're going to get to foiling. I've got lots of foiling videos on my YouTube channel. I'll have that linked down below to that particular set of videos if that's what you're interested in. But yeah, I've got my Glimmer hot foil system warming up on the side, and how I like to set mine up is I'll use my cardstock, then I will layer up my foil on top of that with the pretty side up. I'm just talking about the sandwich I'm making. So again, cardstock, then I'll put my foil on top of that, and then I'm going to take my hot foil plates and we'll put that right on top. I'm going to tack that down with a little bit of mint tape, and then I'm going to flip all of that over and stick that right on top of that hot part of the Glimmer hot foil system. Now my system isn't warmed up yet. You'll know it is because the second light will, or that light will turn green. The second light will. And then you press your timer button. When that goes solid, it is ready to run through your die cutting machine. So I'm going to do that. And then be careful because obviously those plates are going to be hot. And so I'm just peeling off that mint tape, and take a look at how cool that looks on some navy cardstock. All right, for my background, I have some yellow cardstock. I'm going to bring in some neon inks. This first one is a neon orange, and I'm just going to blend that on that upper part of my cardstock. And I have that cut down to 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. So that's the full front of an A2 size card. Next, I'm going to bring in some red neon ink and just kind of go right on that edge. Look at how cool that looks. I love that. That looks awesome. And then I did try, and it might be because that ink might not have been completely dry yet, I did try to foil right onto that back. It didn't work out. You'll see that later on. But as that's heating up, I'm going to tack down all of the dies so that I can run this through my die cutting machine. And then I will have to trim those down just a little bit, because obviously those dies only go, from one end to the other. They don't go all the way around. So we'll trim that down, and look at how cool those waves look. All right, so because that didn't work, I did refoil onto some of that yellow cardstock, and I'm just trimming that down. There's always a way, so don't be afraid to try things. It isn't exactly what I wanted, but I can very easily just put this right over the top of what I tried to foil, and no harm, no foul. Now we're going to glue our waves down. So I'll glue this first one down. I'm kind of using the other one as a guide because I want those to layer on top of each other. And then we'll glue down our sentiment. Foam tape would work great too. And then we'll glue down our second wave on top. And we're going to have stuff hanging off all the edges. That's okay. We'll work with it. I like doing that. It gives you more of an impression that there's more going on outside of the card. So then we'll bring in our guillotine trimmer, and we can trim off all of that excess that's going on there on all 3 of those sides. And then I'll attach that down to a card base, and that's going to finish off that first card, which uses that Glimmer Kit for June 2023. Isn't that beautiful? Oh my goodness. Just love it. And I love how everything just coordinates when it comes to these kits. So that's the Glimmer Kit. We're going to move on to the embossing folder. I went ahead and embossed this. Just follow the directions on your machine. And this is not the 3D. This is the regular embossing folder. And I did that on some blue cardstock, and then I used some blue ink to just sponge that on the edge and give that a little bit of depth. But check it out. This is the embossing folder. I love how big their embossing folders are, so you can make bigger than A2 size cards. You can make some 5x7s, which I love to do as well. I'm going to bring in the small die, and there's literally nothing small about this die. So I can only imagine the big die is like massive. So what I do with my small die, or well, any of those, my favorite way to do them is honestly to die cut them out of some white cardstock and then use my alcohol markers to color those up. I feel like I can get a good amount of dimension and some depth when I color with them rather than just using plain colored cardstock. So that's what I did, and I cut out 3 little jellyfish. And you'll notice that third piece of that jellyfish is a little funky. It has a hole in it. Well, that is because you can make this interactive, and that's what we're going to do. So you'll notice our sentiment. That sentiment's actually an add-on Glimmer Kit. So you can do an add-on, which, like I said, all of these kits basically go together. The only one that might be a little bit different would be your Quick and Easy card kit. This one is not themed ocean, while all of the other kits are absolutely themed ocean, which is wonderful. So I've used these little discs. These little discs come from something else, but you could very easily, if you don't have these discs, just use a hole punch. Use a hole punch to cut out several that you would layer up. And then what I'm going to do is make my jellyfish, let those kind of dry as they're sitting there. And then I've got other pieces as well. I've got some kelp or seaweed or whatever you want to call it. We're going to glue that down to the bottom just to create a little bit of a scene there. But yeah. So here we're using not only embossing folder, we're using the small die, and we're also using that glimmer add-on, which I think is so cool. And then we're putting down our little bits of kelp or seaweed or whatever you want to call it. And I'm going to save some of those because some of those are going to go on the inside of these cards just to add a little bit of something to the inside. Draw that outside in. And then once those little discs are dry, we can take our little jellyfish heads and we can just put a little dot of glue on each one of those, and we can attach down our jellyfish piece. And then I'll show you how interactive this could be. It's so super fun. You just want to make sure that you don't get any glue on that bottom piece of the jellyfish, because you want them to move freely, just like this. Isn't that fun? That just makes me happy. I can't wait to give that away. All right, and that's our second card using the embossing folder along with our small die and our add-on. And then this final card, I am going to be focusing just on the small die, and also, of course, our sentiment's going to come from that glimmer add-on. I have a piece of cardstock, same color as before, and we're using that same color ink as before. We're just not using the embossing folder. We're focusing that color more on the bottom because I'm going to use that sentiment that says, "I love you deeply." And so I'll start piecing together the parts that I want. We're going to use that octopus. There are 3 parts to the octopus. I think that's one of the things I like so much about the dies from Spellbinders is that they usually are dies that layer up, and it gives you lots of dimension. So here are the 3 pieces of our octopus. You'll notice that third bottom piece of the octopus has that same kind of hole, just like the jellyfish. So you could make this interactive as well if you wanted to. Now, at this point, I wasn't sure if I wanted to do that yet, so I'm not attaching all 3 pieces together. But in the end, I decide not to make this one interactive. I'm just going to add that on top in the end. And then we're going to attach all 3 of our little starfish. We have 2 pieces for that one. We'll attach all 3 of those together. And then here's where I decide we're just going to go ahead and put that octopus together. Look at the depth that has with those 3 layers. How fun. And I didn't attach the second, like the tentacles of the second piece onto the first piece or even the third piece. So we'll glue him down. And then we're going to put his little sign into one of his tentacles. It says, "Hey." We'll glue down our sentiment that says, "I love you deeply." And then we're going to add a little bit of that seaweed and one of those starfish, because like I said, the rest of those are going to go on the inside of the rest of those cards I made. And we're going to have that starfish kind of hanging off the bottom, because I wanted this to seem like, again, like there's more going on outside of the card. Like it is really deep. So then we can just flip that over and trim off the excess of that starfish. And then I decide that background is not flat. I don't want to say it's flat, but it needs something. So I'm going to bring in this clear Jelly Roll pen. Basically, it just adds a little sparkle to the background. I'm making little stars and little dots all over the background. And we're going to do that all over. And then I decide to bring in the white gel pen, and we're going to add some highlights to our squid, or our octopus, I mean. Wait, is it a squid or... I think the squid has what, 6 tentacles, and the octopus has 8, or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I don't know my ocean life very well. Either way, we're going to add some dots to the back of our background, and then we're going to attach that down to a card, and that's going to finish off that final card. So I love how these turned out. I'm going to have a link down below to each of the different kits, and also a link to like a value kit where you can get it all. I'd love to know what you think of these kits and these cards, so leave that down in the comment section down below. If you like this video, be sure to hit that like button. Definitely consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. And as always, I will see you very soon in another video. Bye, everybody.